my life, I'm a lot like you were. Oh man, look at my life, I'm a lot like you were. Oh man, look at my life, 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of two. Love lost, such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you. I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. I want look in my eyes and you can tell that's true.
My name is George Washington. This is the French-Indian War. What happened me and the British fellow British walked in, marched in, and went to attack the French Indians, but they ambushed us.
Swing round, come on, chill with me. I got your favorite show. We got it on my TV, but we don't have to watch that, no. I'll turn off the radio. So won't you pick up? Don't you pick up? It's not a hookup. Don't think about it too much, too much. You just need to pick up. Don't need to pick up. Don't think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much. Don't think about it too much, too much, too much, too much, too much, too much. Do you think about the days when we sat down smoking wine and drinking haze? Or is it the other way? Is it the other way? Swing round, come on, chill with me. I got your favorite show. We got it on my TV, but we don't have to watch that, no. I'll turn off the radio. So won't you pick up? Don't need to pick up. It's not a hookup. Don't think about it too much, too much. You just need to pick up. Don't need to pick up. Don't think about.
At Vermont Daily Chronicle, we support your First Amendment right.
We also support your Second Amendment rights.
Chocolate vanilla twist with rainbow sprinkles. Come on down.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the ongoing episode of the Brown Recluse Spider Show. Yes, that's right. You thought you were tuning into the Vermont podcast. Well, of course you have. I'm Guy Page, your co-host, along here with Paul Bean, the other co-host. Yes, I'm back from vacation, and I hope it shows. I'm a little bit more relaxed. But I also managed to pick up, in case you haven't noticed, this big red spot right here. And as it turns out, That is a bite from a brown recluse spider, which is a tiny little thing that does live in Vermont, generally speaking, in cold, dark places, damp places, like underneath maybe the pad of my chair on my patio. And little did I know until a day or so ago that I was thinking, gee, this might be like a, face cancer or something. Instead, it's just a really, really nasty, you don't feel it when it bites you, but you really do feel it for a few days afterwards.
Wow.
So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Okay, Paul?
Well, honestly, Guy, I mean,
It's not a zit. I don't have acne.
I'm looking at the camera now on your shot. I mean, if you didn't say anything, people might just think it's your glasses. So,
Yeah.
Okay, I take that back now. I take that back. No, hey, whatever. It happens. Spider bite's a spider bite, man.
So you learned something, and as I just found out too, I went to the Mayo Clinic site, and it does not turn you into a comic book superhero.
Oh, no. That
Downside
is so
to everything.
disappointing.
Yeah. So anyway, that's that. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing great, Guy. I'm really glad to be back here in the studio. We've done a couple different representatives from Castleton, which that was such a fun interview, and I think that it came out really well. And I think our message is good. So if you haven't checked that out yet, check out my interview with Zach Harvey. It's posted on the YouTube page, on our social media, my social media. It's everywhere. So check it out.
The reason I like that is there is a short list of Republican elected officials who I would categorize as comers, as people with a real future and a real political future for stepping up to something. And for me, Zach Harvey's one of them.
Yeah.
So, and he's so smart, articulate, great background, and I didn't know this. He's a seventh generation Vermonter. I knew he was a Wall Street guy in New York, and I'm thinking, well, someone who moved up to Vermont. Oh no, not exactly. He's more like Bruce Lissman, who's born and raised in Burlington, went down to New York City, made a lot of money there, and then moved back to Vermont.
Yeah.
So reminds me of him.
Well, I think he's just one of these guys, kind of like myself, where it's like you have this drive to do stuff here because like you're just compelled to. You almost can't stop yourself in a weird way.
And we watched your video last night, the one that I think most of the folks just saw, and Colette said, my wife said, wow, is that good? He just so obviously loves doing this stuff. And I thought, that's really true. The same way I get a buzz off of breaking a news story, Paul does with making these news videos.
I do love doing it. Yeah. And it took us a while too. We've gotten better. Being in this studio has been so great. Shout out to 802 Scoop and Raylene Meunier for giving us the space to do this. Because man, everything that they've done for us to be able to do this here has allowed me to learn more, get better at what we're doing. But it took us a long time, Guy. If you go back and look at some of our earlier stuff, it's pretty. I mean, it's. And
in a couple of years, we're going to be looking at these, going, "Oh my gosh."
Oh yeah. So I mean,
what are you going to do to? So I'm thinking, because I'm the Chronicle editor here. I'm thinking, okay, how do we maximize this burgeoning talent of Paul Beans, and to have it benefit the Chronicle even more than it already does? I mean, what's coming? What's next?
I think you're gonna see some more street interviews in the near future. Remember, I was doing some street interviews for a while, but we kind of got off of that because we started to do the podcast, and I opened the Creamy Stand, and it was busy. But I really want to get back out there interviewing people on the street. I find that to be so much fun. And putting those edits together are kind of like the same kind of fun and just interesting. And so that's definitely what we're going to be doing. Actually, Guy, I should tell everyone this, and people need to know this just for a number of reasons. I am going to be gone next week, August 7th through the 14th, because I am going to England.
You are. That's
yes.
right. And are you allowed to say why, or is it maybe better?
No, I'll say why. I put it out there. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm going to be there speaking at a health and wellness festival called the Wellness Way Festival, hosted by Philly J. Lay. the UK's #1 health podcaster. So
Wow.
I'll be one of the guests there speaking on the subject of geoengineering and weather modification. Pretty excited to do it. Yeah, I get it, Guy. You know, it's a little bit like, am I going to be able to make it into the country? Part of me does feel that way with everything that we're seeing right now in the UK. It's kind of scary. But, you know, my brother's in the Air Force there. I'm an American citizen. He is as well. Trump is currently in the UK right now as we speak. So I would like to believe, and I do believe, there's not going to be too much friction. Hopefully none at all.
Right.
But hey, say some prayers for me, to be honest, please.
And what a world we live in where we have to worry about, will the repressive national state of the UK, jump down their throat at a young American. It's just really strange.
I don't really think anything's going to happen. No. I really don't. But you never know. Like with what I see, I'm like just kind of like, okay. So, but to your point, asking me what I want to do with more videos and stuff. While I'm there, I plan to do some street interviews in London.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to do some interviews while I'm in at the festival itself. And I'm just so excited to go do that. I think it's going to be great. I think a lot of people right now have eyes on the UK and they're wondering, what is going on over there? What is happening in this country? So I'm looking forward to it. I have a presentation that I've been putting together on geoengineering, which, man, as I'm putting it together, I've just been like, wow, I can't believe that I'm doing this. Like, I didn't choose this, in my life. It just kind of happened. So
speaking of atmospheric things and the British Empire, do you have that picture?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me when it's up.
It's up.
Great, thank you. So, folks, that's me, obviously, and my beautiful wife, Colette, and our dog, Dexter. We're standing at the top of Stowe Pinnacle, which is off of Stowe Hollow in Lamoille County, on Saturday. Look behind us, and you will see a lot of haze. And that's humidity, but that's also Canadian forest fires from Western Canada, mostly, I think, Manitoba. And I pulled up a map today of active forest fires, and there's this huge swath going across Canada of active forest fires. And the smoke plume is not only going through New England and the Atlantic states, but literally across the Atlantic Ocean and into Africa and Southern Europe. And their carbon output, because we all know, all right, everyone's hair is on fire about carbon reduction. Their carbon output just from these forest fires is the biggest it's ever been, except for one really terrible year. And why more people who are so hair on fire about carbon aren't thinking about forest fires? What can we do about forest fires? But they don't talk about forest fires, and they should, and let me tell you why. When we're walking up Stowe Pinnacle, which is 1.6 miles up, it's fairly steep, as the name Pinnacle might suggest, our dog, who loves hiking, about a mile in, starts looking at us and saying, I want to go back, and literally turning around and wanting to head back. We said, no, 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 Dexter, you got to come to the top, because we're going too. And one of us also, about a few minutes later, started having some trouble breathing and dizzy and lightheaded. And apparently when this thing hits the worst is in the high altitudes, in the mountains, and in the mountain valleys as well. So and there were people up there who were having trouble breathing, and which I didn't myself, but never really run into that before. And I just really think, I can't imagine that they can't do a better job controlling things. I know there's some drought and everything going on, but I got to wonder about their forestry practices, and certainly Western U.S. forestry practices that seem to kind of allow this, and none of the carbon people bat an eye.
Well, I think they bat eyes at it, but they're not talking about it in the same way that you and I would say, here's how we have to solve this problem. What they're saying is we need to reduce carbon output, right? We need to stop burning gas and oil. And see, this is all being caused, of course, Guy, because we're burning oil, because we're burning gas, right? That's what this all comes down to, and it is
Yeah.
it is real pollution, by the way, particulate pollution in the atmosphere. That is going to affect your health in the
you
worst of
bet.
ways. You can even see in the smoke sometimes actual particulates itself.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, I think we have a whole list of environmental issues, but I would put wildfires right now at the top. I'm getting very frustrated with this. Every day it seems like I wake up in the summer and it's for the last 4 or 5 years it's been wildfires. So
Right.
got to make sure we're breathing through our nose so that we can filter out all the smoke.
The good news for Dexter is that halfway up we met some 20-somethings with 2 dogs, and once Dexter met those other dogs, he forgot about being tired, and he decided he was just going to run up the hills and literally run with the big dogs up the mountain, and he did.
He was having a good time.
Yeah, he was.
Here's a quick comment from Planet Hank down in Brattleboro. He
Oh.
says, "What up, Daily Chronicle crew? Hope you guys are having a great Friday. Sending love from South Vermont." Well, wait a minute. It's Monday, Hank.
You know that.
Yeah, I think he knows.
So I watched the beginning of Planet Hank, his video, and I watched it and I thought, boy, how boring am I on this video? Because he says, man, we're going to talk about this thing, and we're going to talk about this thing, and oh yeah, that guy who tried to drag a 3-year-old girl into his room, and oh yeah, all the drug abuse going on down at the street in Brattleboro, and oh yeah, Kamala Harris, and I didn't end up watching it because I had something else to do, but I wanted to.
Yeah.
And Hank, we'd love to have you on the show,
Yes,
pal.
we would.
And we're simpatico in a lot of ways. So
Yeah,
let's do lunch. Or I don't know.
We
Let's get
should
together.
definitely do that, and
Yeah.
in the near future, Hank. I mean, we could do it by Zoom if we have to, because I know Brattleboro's a bit of a drive for both of us, but for either of us anyway. But let's do it. Let's make it happen. We have all the ways to do it now. We have so many ways to make content and make videos. So let's definitely make it happen. And I think he actually even has my cell phone number, so maybe we can set that up. But Guy, I think we have a couple stories we should get into today. One of the big ones this last week, no, there's no more comments, no. One of the big ones last week, and I'm going to pull this up on the Chronicle so that people can see it, because it is just so crazy how this story just took off. This is the no farms, no steeples, or red, white, and blue allowed in the Vermont 250th anniversary logo. So this ended up getting about 30,000 views on X, which for, a little story like this, I knew
Now,
it.
first of all, before we get into this,
Sure.
let's say who wrote this story.
Yeah, for sure, yeah, by Dave Sula with FYIVT.
Dave Sulia, FYIVT, out of Rutland County.
Yeah.
And if you could imagine someone he's doing it better than we are in some ways.
Yes.
His investigative work on something like this, he dug so deep into the minutes and the agendas and the records until he finally found something that said, well, we've taken a vote, and no farms, no steeples, no red, white, and blue, no barns at all in our logo. And I'm thinking, holy cow. And this is for Vermont's heritage, 250 years. So instead, they choose basically the pride colors.
Yeah.
And they talk about their diversity. Well, gay marriage has been a thing for 25 years. The gay movement in Vermont for maybe another 25 years before that. So for a max of 20% of Vermont's history, the gay movement has had a significant contribution. It needs to be discussed in any discussion of Vermont history. But the 80% before that, an awful lot about farms and mountains, and for that matter, steeples. I mean, you look at the history of religion and of churches, not even so much religion, but of churches in Vermont. Paul, what is the most iconic, recognized street in Vermont?
Well, Canada Avenue, of course.
Oh, that's right, Rue Canada.
Rue Canada. Yeah, don't forget. Well, to be honest,
Which
Guy,
is, of course, let's help people out.
And I just see this, it's like this agenda in every way possible.
Yeah.
In every way possible, they want to rewrite Vermont's history. Yeah. They want to remove religion in any way possible, even as simple as Church Street. And they can say, oh, it's because we're trying to, I don't believe that. I don't buy it for a second. We're trying to bring our friends from Canada back down. We're trying to get people to come. Okay, seems like a great excuse and another perfect reason and example to, stick the finger to the president and the administration. And ultimately, I just keep seeing the same pattern playing out in so many different facets of our state and our government, and I find it to be disgusting.
By the way, how is that effort to attract Vermont tourism doing?
Great question, Guy.
Didn't we write a story?
Yes.
Didn't Tim pull up a Compass Vermont story on that today?
Let's see here. Where is it? Did you publish this today, Tim?
Yeah, you did. The gist of it is, it's really bad. The tourism to Vermont is really bad. A lot of it is driven by the weakness of the loonie, which is the Canadian dollar, because it has a picture of a loon on the back of it,
There it is. I have it pulled up.
But it isn't just the loonie, because right now it's worse even than, either as bad or worse than post-COVID. So the question is it the loonie? And I got to think, we were over in Wells Beach 2 weeks ago. And thank you, Paul and Tim, for doing such a great job doing the Chronicle in my absence. You've made me redundant. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Happy to do it.
Yeah.
Happy to do it.
Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you are. Yeah, I know. So anyway, we're over in Wells, and there's normally, which is on the coast of Maine, there's normally a ton of Canadians there, a ton of tourists. It's like the beaches were almost empty, relatively empty. Beautiful July days, 80-degree weather, perfect beach weather, very few tourists. And I got to think that this whole, it isn't just the loonie, it's also, they think maybe our president's a little loony.
Yeah.
They're not terribly happy with the whole thing up there. In fact, Colette befriended a woman from Quebec who said something like, yeah, my friends, they're not coming down because of that man. That man. Yeah. So,
Guy, I just sense with a lot of foreigners right now from Canada, the UK, all over Europe, and I know a handful of them around the world. I just sense like this crazy bitterness and resentment towards the United States of America.
Yeah.
And I get it to a certain extent. Like, yeah, we have the most powerful military, which we kind of use to dominate ultimately the entire globe. I can see that how it might be a little bit frustrating and angersome for some people.
Yeah.
But if you think about the overall good that our nation has afforded so many people, including like our military protection of the EU and basically all of Europe and Canada for that matter, and all of those nations, by the way, have free health care. Meanwhile, the United States doesn't have free health care, right? We're paying for military protection and services of the entire globe. Meanwhile, even our own people aren't very, very healthy, right? And that's, we're working on that with the Make America Healthy Again movement. But I just find it to be so interesting, like this bitterness towards the U.S. It's almost like how do I put it? I've been trying to really think of this because I see this pattern show up in a lot of places in life because it's as big as global politics and then even local stuff. But it's almost like people bite the hand that feeds them often, and they want to feel like, oh, well, we can do it by myself, or I don't need this, or I don't need you, I can do it alone. And I just continue to see that pattern play out. And do you know what I'm getting at, Guy?
I do.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time, maybe because I'm an insulated American, in fact, a Trump-supporting American, but I don't get, and I do know it absolutely precedes Trump.
Yeah, it does. Of course it precedes Trump. It's always been to a certain extent, it's always been like
and I don't know why that is. And, part of me says, probably the way the French do about America, when we kvetch about them, is they say, do you not remember the Marquis de Lafayette?
Yeah.
Do you not remember how basically you are a free country because we came to your aid?
Yeah.
And that's really true. And I have not forgotten that.
Yeah.
That is maybe they did it for their own reasons, whatever, but we wouldn't be a country without the French Navy and parts of the French Army and the French Treasury making it so that we could buy the guns and cannons we needed to fight the Revolutionary War. That is an absolute historical fact. But then I look at, let's see, why did the French and the English and Western Europe win World War I? Now that was because we put them over the top, literally put them over the top. And World War II, I mean, come on.
Same thing.
Yeah, so twice. And then, we also won the Cold War. And we are largely responsible, with a lot of help, for kind of winning you might say, the Islamic War. So you might say that there are like 4 world wars in the last 110 years that the U.S. took the leadership on and we won. And yeah, maybe a little gratitude.
It's just something I keep seeing pop up, and I think you see that same kind of sentiment even here in Vermont with, this globalist, in my opinion, globalist pride flag, right? You see, it's like the same kind of concept, and I'm seeing I'm trying to understand the global powers and say okay, who's opposing who, and what's the opposition like, and I just continue again to see this same pattern showing up and in the similar places, and it seems like, maybe I'm wrong, but it does seem like there's one group that is becoming a lot weaker by the day. Maybe we'll see how that turns out in the long run. But it does seem like the globalists kind of anti-free speech, anti.
Boy, in England, big thing now.
I know.
And Europe, I mean.
I know. Well, and that's what I'm trying to say. Is it's almost like everything right now is. I feel like every day I'm reading stuff online, and I feel like every day I'm like, wow, it's accelerating so quickly. People are starting to see this across the entire globe. I'm going to see for myself if that's true or not. I'm curious to see how it actually is going over there. But I really do think we got to get over that hump of the rest of the world just hating the United States of America. Because, for all it's worth, I think we're a pretty great nation. Yes, there's problems here. Why does everybody want to come here, by the way? Why does everybody want to come live in the United States? If we're so evil and so terrible, why does everybody want to have a part of it? I've never understood that either.
Yeah.
And then they come here and then they're still upset about things. And it's just it's interesting. So we do have a couple comments I should probably rattle off here.
No, don't rattle them. Hold them up.
I will. I'm not. I rattle them just in a fun way.
Yeah.
Patrick Finney says, and they'd be goose stepping without us.
Absolutely. Pat Finney, by the way, one of the great commenters on Vermont Daily Chronicle. He's a former Capitol police officer. Used to have lunch with him sometimes up at the State House in the cafeteria there. And you talk about guys, sort of Mark Twain guys, who just hit the nail right on the head in 3 or 4 words and very down-to-earth speech. Pat Finney's one of them. Thank you, Pat, for that comment. And yeah, they would be goose stepping without us. Darn right.
And to that point too, you still see that we have immigration issues here in the United States, but we're trying to deal with them. Yeah. They have immigration issues over there that are honestly even worse because I think they're much closer. They're much closer to a lot of the source of the people that are trying to get into the West.
Let me tell you how the German government is handling their immigration problem right now. There was a problem in swimming pools, with women being groped by men.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was often people of Arabic descent, men, groping German women in the pools. And so they took this very seriously. They did a public service campaign about this. And it showed in their graphic a middle-aged white woman, a German woman in a bathing cap, trying to grope a young man of brown skin. That's the problem, right? All these Hausfraus in Germany trying to grope young men of Middle Eastern descent, when actually, the problem was, like it or not, the problem was quite the opposite. And that is just, in a nutshell, the crazy way that the sort of the European elite culture is handling this the immigration problems related to opening their doors to the Middle East.
Here it is, Guy. I have it pulled up, that image.
Yeah.
This is from Spiked Media. This says, those sexual harassment posters are gaslighting Germans. It's not about middle-aged white women who are committing the bulk of sexual assaults. And it says there on the ad in German, it says, summer sun, I don't know what that says, but you have a right to have your own body, basically. Stop grabbing. It's verboten. It's forbidden.
Yeah,
and
that's a word the Germans know.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have here a German, like honestly kind of like a larger looking German woman groping a brown guy with a peg leg.
That happens all the time.
I'm so blown away by this.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, Guy. I just don't understand it. Yeah. I don't understand why the people hate the United States as a whole. They also just seem to hate whites and like the West as a whole, like Western civilization. Yeah. But they all want to come and live here. I don't understand it. Yeah. It makes no sense to me.
Well, there are real grievances, and there's also envy.
That's true.
Those are at least two things. I'm sure there's a bunch of other stuff that you could throw in there. We haven't done an ad in a while.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go to an ad right now. Today's episode is brought to you by Procter Gas, the propane people. Are you a homeowner wishing to convert your home to propane gas so you can enjoy energy efficiency and off-grid living? Alternatively, you may be a contractor seeking propane tank and line installation and related services for your clients. Either way, our propane company is here to help. Procter Gas provides comprehensive services and a variety of products from leading brands in Rutland and beyond. And we always like to shout out Judy. I hope Judy's watching right now. I know we're not on at the normal time, which we usually do our show. But we've thought maybe if we did a Monday lunch hour, maybe people would be able to tune into it. So I hope that you're out there watching. But with that, I'm going to go back to comments here. Here's a comment from John Anderson. John writes, in Vermont, if you go anywhere, but Vermont people, wait a second, hold on a second. Vermont, if you go anywhere, I think he says but Vermont people work in teams, big teams. Vermont should be its own country because it's really nothing like even New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, which are within driving distance.
This is the guy from Canada who wrote a letter to the editor to us.
Oh, nice.
Saying, hey, from Alberta, I think. And he said, hey, you up there? You down there? Come join us. Thank you, but no.
Yeah, no, thank you.
We thought about that 200 years ago.
Yeah, we considered it, and
he said, not like New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, which are within driving distance, but Vermont wasn't built by Vermonters. It was built by a couple of guys called the Green Mountain Boys who were from Connecticut. Well,
true enough.
They're still Vermonters. I mean, my mom's from Connecticut. She's a Vermonter.
Is she?
Is she? Yeah. Mom, she's not watching. We don't got to worry about that. Here we go. This is from Patrick Finney. He says, State Security Officer Guy.
State Security Officer. Yes, I stand corrected. State Security Officer Finney. Retired.
Guy, John Anderson, it's not the same guy. He says, well, first of all, he says, actually, it does happen all the time. I don't know what he's referring to. Maybe the groping in the pools, potentially. He says, replying to John Anderson, I'm from Barrie.
Okay. Different John Anderson.
Different John Anderson, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you.
Timothy Page
Who?
writes, if Canada is so great, why don't migrants stay there rather than illegally enter the United States? What are we not seeing?
Maybe they do. Maybe some of them do.
They do. Yeah. There's a big population of migrants up that way.
But when we get told of thousands of them about to enter through from Montreal.
Yep.
I saw that.
It implies that they already know that they're not staying.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're seeing across the globe right now, and even here in Vermont, right? You're seeing a giant push for re-immigration, and people are feeling very betrayed by their governments and feeling like, what I find to be most interesting about this guy is last year, I knew immigration was an issue, and I knew there was a lot of people that should not be in our country. But it wasn't until Trump actually became president that we have started to see like just the craziness, the explosiveness of the issue, right? I mean, even just start with January 20th, the Border Patrol agent that gets shot by a German national, of course, of all people.
Yeah.
It wasn't a German national who shot the person, but there was a German there.
Not for lack of trying.
Well, exactly. And it is interesting, like, how quickly this all pops off.
Yeah.
And before, I didn't really see this as, I knew it was an issue, but like we've seen the LA riots, you know, really crazy stuff. I think the National Guard is still deployed in California.
And even here in Vermont, what is the sort of the political power, especially on the left and the media, what are they most focused on? It's, oh my gosh, ICE detaining people here, be they people from the Congo or people from Mexico or Mozambique or whoever. They're just, I mean, they're pulling their hair out over this. Becca Balint.
Yeah.
The whole butt wipe thing was the issue that she was so upset about. So it's almost like the thing that they seem to care about most in terms of the intensity and the thing they keep bringing up is Trump stopping immigration.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're losing the hearts and minds of their own constituents, so they're bringing in more.
Yeah.
Tim just said it's almost like they're losing the hearts and minds of their constituents, so they're bringing in more. And there's something to that. I know the Clinton people, the argument was we need to go to get support from union people, from Midwesterners, and they did very well with that. But very soon after that, the Democratic Party made a conscious choice that no, we're going to be thinking more about racial identity politics, about Hispanics, because they are the sort of the future of our party. And they moved away from supporting the sort of the union member from Indiana to the illegal immigrant from somewhere else. And for reasons that are still a little hard to figure out, but it did happen. It's baffling.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I think Tim makes a really good point. It's almost like the Democrat Party, really kind of preys upon that third world mentality to a certain extent. Like they almost need a class of people that are coming here for what they perceive to be benefits. They need people to come here that need health care, and people that need food stamps, and because that's their bread and butter, right? That's the bread and butter of their politics. And the more and more
customers
that they need customers, they need a voter base, right? They need to keep their system going. And then ultimately too, the goal with the identity politics, like if you wrap this all into one thing, it's the communist agenda, right? They want to try to create a society that's like, you see this very clearly with this guy who's running for mayor in New York City, who Bernie and Becca, of course, endorsed. No shock there. But, he wants government-operated grocery stores.
That works out so well elsewhere.
It's ridiculous.
And also, if you go down to New York City, actually one thing that is surprisingly affordable is groceries. Yeah. The corner stores, you go into them, they're really nice and they're not very expensive, and slice of pizza for $1, and this is pretty okay. Now, if you want to actually rent an apartment, that's a different story.
That's right. Well, Guy, with this, I should go to another ad here, and then we need to change subjects because we got something else we need to talk about today.
Okay.
Today's episode is brought to you by Perro's Gun Shop. Discover Perro's, Vermont's premier firearms destination, nestled in Waterbury. Explore an unparalleled selection of firearms, complemented by their exclusive firearms range, indoor firearms range, I should say, the one of its only kind in Vermont. Elevate your skills with their tailored, comprehensive, professional training classes for every level of expertise. At Perro's, they're dedicated to providing exceptional service and expertise for all of your firearms needs. And they are, looks like, I just saw on their page here, where did it go? They're offering couples trainings. So if you and your hubby want to go do a little self-defense training and practice, go check it out, Perro's Gun Shop. And thank you again to them for that wonderful time we had shooting in their indoor firearms range. And I've actually been looking at buying a gun. We'll see. We're gonna maybe make a decision in the future here, but definitely thank you, Perro's, for sponsorship. It's so cool to have them.
One of the big stories over the weekend was the multiple stabbing at a Walmart up in Michigan.
That's right.
And I didn't know until I looked at the video that that guy was going nuts. He was just going around stabbing people right and left until a onlooker pulled out his, I think it was a Glock, and points it straight at him. And at that point, the man's affect changes radically. He suddenly starts backing up going, and no more stabbing after that. And so, boy, there are times, sure is handy to have a trained person on site when something bad is happening who didn't shoot him or anything, but got him to back down.
So, Guy, we want to talk about today, there is a lawsuit against the state of Vermont, Julie Moore, Secretary of Natural Resources.
Right.
Right, Guy, you're gonna have to help me through this because we're kind of putting the story together here, and I'm going to publish something more thorough on this tomorrow. But so the state now has knocked down a lawsuit against from the CLF, the Conservation Law Foundation, which is a organization that's concerned with making sure that
they pass quote unquote they do environmental lawsuits. They have a long list of suits filed in so-called environmental interests.
So the state of Vermont, the judge, let's see who the judge is here, Judge Tomasi, this was on July 17th when this came out, basically made the decision that, hey, look, you can't sue the state of Vermont right now just because you think we're not going to meet the climate goals.
Right.
We're not there yet, and we might never be, right?
So you have to go back to the Global Warming Solutions Act of 2022, I think it was, maybe 23, that said we will set these goals of reducing carbon by 50, 75% in certain years, by a certain year, and if you don't, we, the legislature, empower any legal organization that wants to sue the state of Vermont and to hold us legally liable for not reaching those guidelines. That's a remarkable giveaway by the legislature to say, oh yeah, we waive our general right to not be sued. We waive it. Go ahead, sue us. And well, lo and behold, the Conservation Law Foundation, which was one of the supporters of that bill, sued them. But they didn't sue them for not actually meeting the goals, because that time hasn't come yet, and
they're just trying to get ahead of it.
They said, well, we don't like how you're doing it.
Yeah.
We don't think you're going to make it. We don't like how you're doing this, and so we're going to sue you. And the judge said, you can't actually sue anyone because you don't like how they're doing it and because you think that they're not going to make it. So, who knows? Maybe if at some point the state actually doesn't cross the goal line in time with low enough carbon, at that point they may bring another suit and the judge might have a different take on things. The other thing I thought was very interesting, this is the lead lawyer for the Conservation Law Foundation. Her name is Elena Mihaly. And Paul, you may remember that name Mihaly because the lead climate hawk in the Vermont legislature, from Calais, I believe, Pat Finney's hometown, is Mark Mihaly. And that Elena Mihaly is the daughter of Mark Mihaly. So you have a two-generation sort of climate power focus in this one family, and which is not a strange thing. Vermont's a small state, and you often see husbands and wives parents and children sort of engaged in the same task. Emma Mulvaney Stanick's father and mother are both longtime activists in sort of, that's the progressive mayor of Burlington, Emma Mulvaney Stanick. Her parents are both what you might loosely call progressive activists for a long time in Vermont.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for children and parents to have similar political views, or at least some connection together, right?
Sure.
But I gotta say, Guy, it's this kind of punitive BS, I don't know what else to call it, that in this state that just drives me so crazy, because here we are, we could be living, free, not worrying about stuff like this, like actually maybe addressing some of the environmental problems, right? But no, we're just gonna sue the state. We're just gonna sue taxpayers, basically, because that's what they're doing, right?
Yep.
And they've wasted money.
Suing us.
You should take it very personally, and I do.
Do you have Julie Moore's comment
I do.
there?
Here's Julie Moore's response.
She's the secretary of the state's very large Agency of Natural Resources.
So she writes, as far as a comment I would offer, this case demonstrates the problematic nature of the Global Warming Solutions Act expansive private right of action provision, and I remain disappointed that the Conservation Law Foundation chose to file a suit that diverted staff resources from the work needed to implement climate solutions to respond to their misguided claim. And that's, again, a response from Julie Moore, who is appointed by the governor to the Agency of Natural Resources. And Guy, I think another thing that Julie published together recently with, what's his name there, Secretary Flynn of Transportation. They put out that thing about expanding the needs of, we need to build more and better infrastructure. And look, whatever's causing the rain, right? Whatever's causing a lot of our environmental problems in our state, I think their approach of actually trying to create we can control this specifically. We can make more infrastructure. We can make better ways for water to flow, right? Yeah. We can control that. That's something as Vermonters we can do. Right. That is the right way to approach the global issue of climate change, right? Yep. That's the right approach, because otherwise, you could be like me, you could say somebody's controlling the weather. Well, if that's actually happening, what are you going to do about that, right? Other than try to explore the topic and explain it. You could be like the Conservation Law Foundation people and say, oh no, it's climate change, it's carbon emissions, it's we need to stop burning oil, we need to stop burning gas, right? Well, that's not going to happen globally in a million years. Right. So what are we going to do in Vermont? We're just going to punish ourselves just so we can pat ourselves on the back for an issue that may not even be real, right? So I was a little bit triggered by their article that they published together. I was like, those bastards, they just want to... sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Profanity alert.
I said they just want to build more, so the construction industry can benefit. Oh, great. Well, that might be a good solution, actually, to stop a lot of the problems with the flooding that we've been experiencing. So,
and you mentioned the causes. Had a nice conversation with Tom Lozon, the mayor of Barrie, about a month ago, and he said that the river that runs through Barrie, that has flooded, these last two out of 3 years. Tim knows a little something about that. First-hand experience. He said that one of the reasons that happened is because the brook has gotten narrower, at Stevens Brook, I think it's called?
Yes.
Has gotten narrower and narrower because of development. They have essentially decreased the size of this thing, therefore running the same amount of water through a smaller space, which is going to, of course, this is physics, is going to increase the likelihood of flooding. So that is you talk about a man-made cause of flooding. Well, that has nothing to do with carbon emissions. That has everything to do with overdevelopment in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. There's been so much done to our landscape over the last 70 years, and now we're kind of having this issue more frequently, and people Like, we can't just not do anything.
Yeah.
And suing the state isn't a good option. That creates another problem. Actually, it takes away money from the money you could use to solve the problem.
I think that's what Julie Moore was saying is,
Yeah.
you know, we don't have so much money and so much staff time here.
Yeah.
How about you work with us to get something done rather than a what amounts to a nuisance lawsuit?
It's silly.
Yeah.
Here's a comment from Patrick Finney. He says, the people that wrote that bill should be sued, censored, and impeached. I agree with you.
Perhaps voted out, and someone else may be running for office, Mr. Callous resident, Mr. Finney. Think about it.
Here's a comment from John Anderson. He says, I went to school with Emma, and her parents
Yeah.
have been whacked since I was in middle school. And I think by whacked, he just means progressive. I don't know if...
He doesn't mean it's WAX. It's not like that.
No, not like
Okay.
that.
All right.
No.
Yeah, I know Ed was on the I think the Act 250 board and has done a lot of sort of environmental activism work. And Emma, the mother, whose first name I'm forgetting, Barry had like this diversity advisory board.
That's right.
And there was this really horrible episode that she was chairing this board where William Toborg was a pro-lifer. They basically ambushed him during a televised meeting, and just shamed him because of some statement, or tried to shame him for some statement that he'd made opposing abortion, which, you know, has not a whole lot of anything to do with DEI. And they said, you should just quit. You should just get off the board. We don't want you in this board because you said that thing. And it turns out they were actually ended up being censured for doing that, because it was the Barrie City Council said, that's a bit much. It's going too far.
Yeah.
Given that abortion rates from those clinics that they were defending are highest amongst minorities, you would think that a DEI stance would be against abortion.
Jim's point, I don't know if you heard it, is that with the highest number of abortions being among minorities, one could make an argument there that in some ways, an anti-abortion stance is consistent with DEI. So whatever. Yeah.
With that, we're going to go to an ad. Today's episode is brought to you by Ranmar Corporation. Ranmar Corporation has been serving central Vermont and surrounding areas with excavation, construction, and real estate services since 1979. They're a local, family-owned company committed to the values of Vermont. Contact Ranmar Corporation today for all of your contracting and real estate needs. Thank you, Ranmar Corporation. Guy, back to you.
Yeah. So everyone knows that there's no problem in Vermont with drugs and the drug cartels. We got no problem, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're getting killed, literally killed by them. And not only the loss of life, but the destructions of families. Anyone know someone who's got a serious substance abuse problem and how it destroys the family around them? And then there's also, let us not forget, the huge money-sucking thing that happens to an economy, because these are people who could be working, could be productive, could be helping the local economy, but oh no, they're not, and they're robbing and stealing and sending millions of dollars out of state to an illegal cartel, supporting an essentially out-of-state economy. And so it is such a loss to the state on every level what the illegal drug cartels are doing. So along comes our Attorney General, Charity Clark, and she issues a press release a few days ago saying, I support a bill in Congress, federal level, that would allow our legal marijuana industries to use banks. Because right now they can't, because banking is federally run and marijuana is still illegal federally. So all of these local pot shops in Vermont, they need to use cash, credit unions, this and that, whatever they can do. What they can't do is use banking services like businesses like the Vermont Daily Chronicle can. So she's saying, let them use the banks. It's legal, let them use the banks. But here's the problem with that. It's a big problem. One of the problems with legal, so-called legal marijuana industry is that a lot of it is owned and controlled by the illegal cartels. There is absolutely a hand-in-glove connection, maybe a little less so in Vermont, I don't know, but there is nationally a huge connection between the illegal cartels and the so-called legal drug businesses. And above all, what does an illegal, highly profitable enterprise want to do with all the money they make? They want to make it legit. They want to get it into the banks. They want to launder it. They want it to be clean money instead of dirty money. Because increasingly, it's hard to just spend cash. So you want to be able to get it into investments, into the banks, into everything. And this is a perfect vehicle for that. If you make federal banking completely accessible to the marijuana industry, you're going to see tons of illegal proceeds flowing through these businesses into you're going to see money laundering on a huge scale.
Yeah.
So I don't know what A.G. Clark thinks about that, but when it has been opposed successfully on the federal level for the last few years, that's usually the point they bring up.
You know, speaking of which, Guy, I don't know if you saw this, but the Maine Wire editor-in-chief, Steve Robinson, was interviewed by Tucker Carlson about the Chinese mafia infiltration of rural Maine.
Yes.
And I haven't finished the interview, but I did listen to probably the first, I don't know, maybe half of it. And man, was I blown away.
Huge.
I can't even believe what I was hearing. And just the different stories. And I got to say, Guy, I have to wonder how much of this, and he mentions Vermont actually in the interview a couple times, how much of this is influencing the state of Vermont? How much, and where is this big push for the legalization of marijuana?
I have asked the governor and his people that question. I've asked them.
Where is it coming from?
Well, is there a Vermont, is the Chinese mafia essentially doing what they're doing in Maine? Are they doing it in Vermont?
Yeah.
Because one of the reasons they're doing it in Maine because it's rural and because it's pot friendly. Maine is very attractive for that reason. Well, that does sort of sound like Vermont too. So
even more liberal here too.
And so you got to wonder, is this happening in Vermont? And I've asked, and they've all said, we don't know. We don't know anything about it. Now, I'm really looking forward to, though, God bless Ted Cohen. Ted Cohen is a retired journalist, worked for the Portland newspaper for like 30 years, lives in Burlington, now writing for Vermont Daily Chronicle, has a patch website. Yet another great local talent that is now writing for the Chronicle, thank God. And he, I think it was Ted, did an interview did a story on how the governor's brother has been one of the lawyers who's sort of making some of these real estate deals happen in Maine. And I'm just hoping that maybe Ted Cohen, if you're listening, if he could pull together a story on what, if anything, is happening in Vermont with this.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to say as well, Guy. I would love to dive into this myself.
Okay.
And I've been asked to by multiple people. That's why I pulled this up and actually listened to the interview, because I'm like, there are a lot of big grow operations here these days, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know, and it's just interesting to me. And this is what we got to probably wrap the show up here, but what I want to get through to people and Vermonters as a whole is like the rest of the world is looking at our state and New England as a whole as a bunch of stupid liberal people who will let anybody in and let them do whatever they want with basically no repercussions. We don't put people in jail when they break the law. We don't, we just let them back out in the street so they can continue repeating crimes. We let anybody in over our border. Like, it's ridiculous what we'll do here. And, a lot of the crimes that's being committed in the state of Vermont, especially the violent crimes and drug-related crimes, are not people from Vermont.
Yep.
And that's I look, if it was people from Vermont, I would take issue with it, but I take even more issue with it when we're just this stupid, dumb target who, they think that we're so dumb they can do whatever they want. And the CCP don't think that they don't look at that. And then you have the CCP, Consulate General meeting with our Lieutenant Governor, who also runs a pretty sizable pot farm. That's fine, like whatever, he's doing his business. But I'm saying it's all very interesting. And I think a lot of this stuff needs to be looked into a little bit more closely. And one of the things that Tucker said during the interview was that the Maine Wire was the only journalism in the state.
Yeah.
Sound familiar?
Yes, absolutely. I'm in contact with the Maine Wire on a regular basis. We trade stories, or at least I say, hey, can I run your story? They say yes. They are a mirror image, I'm sure much bigger and better, of the Vermont Daily Chronicle.
Yeah. Well, and I guess maybe closing the episode, I just want to say to anyone out there who can help us with this, we would love to collaborate more with the Maine Wire, and maybe how we can dive into this issue specifically.
And Granite Grok over there in New Hampshire,
yes.
too. I think it'd be so cool, have some sort of tri-state, this is what's happening.
It's coming together. There's I had a nice conversation with Dave Sewell the other day, and we were talking about how can we collaborate more. Planet Hank, Vermont Daily Chronicle, him, FYIVT, Rob Roper, right? And really regionally in New England, how could we bring more conservatives together? And I think that's something going forward we need to think about, and we have to have our eyes set on it, because it has to happen. I mean, this region of the country, it really does. In many ways, it's like Europe, right? In the sense where we just let anybody in and let them all in, and we don't care. We got to be open. We got to be kumbaya, right?
And what housing problem?
Yeah,
anyway.
what housing problem? Yeah. Oh, and we're not going to build more housing, right?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That's pathetic.
So, again, and here's a final comment. I'm just going to read it off, and then we're going to close the show. This is from Maureen Heck. She says, the CCP for the Northeast is out of their consulate in NYC. Listen to the entire interview. The CCP was here and met with our pot grower, Lieutenant Governor John Rogers, supposedly met about ski equipment and syrup. The CCP has representatives for each state.
Well, the thing about the ski industry, Killington has, this is something our reporter, Russell Flannery, out of another guy. This is a Forbes magazine's, the head of the Forbes magazine bureau for Chinese business. I mean, there's probably 5 people in the whole world who know more about, in the media, who know more about the Chinese international business situation than Russell Flannery. He's an absolute expert. And he was saying that, and he's from Rutland, and that Killington has a huge buildup of Chinese ownership of the condos, and basically the Chinese have a ton of money. With the Olympics that were over there, they got into skiing.
Oh, yeah.
They went, wow.
This is great.
This is so much fun. I'm sure Paul could attest. So they're in huge numbers. They're in Vermont now as well-heeled ski tourists.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up the show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Guy, thanks for doing the show today on a Monday. We're gonna try this again next week, and we're gonna change things up too, though. Maybe we'll do different times. We'll see. But I think right now we're gonna work with Mondays, and you're gonna see some Zoom interviews too coming out in the future. But with that, it's a good place to wrap up. Guy, you have anything you want to say?
Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week.